Hello and welcome back to the Real Talk Podcast. My name is Matt Began.
And I'm Vicky Pierre.
And we're actually doing a very special episode because we're on location at Westside High School. And today, students were joined by Dr. Robert Hayling, who played a major role in the civil rights movement locally and worked alongside Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Hayling, it's so great for you to be here.
Thank you.
And we're also joined by a number of other guests. We're grateful that y'all are here. First of all, Dr. Constance Hall, District 5 board member. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
We have Austin Hunter, a former history teacher and current literacy coach here at Westside High School. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to Westside.
We have Joseph Belk, a junior here at Westside High School.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We have Michaela Stanfield, who is a senior and Miss Westside High School. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We have Tania Mitchell, a senior at Westside High School and president of the senior class. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here.
And then we also have former Senator Tony Hill. We are so glad you're here with us today.
Glad to be here.
All right, so first question for everybody. February is recognized as Black History Month, and this is a time when, a lot of people are reflective upon our nation's history, what we've gone through to get to this moment. And so what are your thoughts about having a specific time of year for us to reflect upon our history?
I think it's always good to reflect upon our history. It's just so ironic that February, the shortest month of the year, is when we observe Black History Month. But be as it may, it's always interesting in our schools to see the activities and how we highlight the history and the rich history that African Americans have really contributed to America and the nation as a whole.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just feel like maybe we shouldn't just put out 1 month. We should always be acknowledging our history every day because we have made strides to make history every day.
Now, Dr. Hayling, you were very active with the SCLC while a resident of St. Augustine. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, I think you have mentioned that I am a native Floridian. I was born in Tallahassee on the campus of Florida A&M College at that time in 1929. So from that day on and what have you, with the experience of my father, who was an instructor at Florida, I keep saying now A&M or what have you, university, but it was only a college. FSU in Tallahassee was Florida State University for women. Gainesville was the University of Florida and all for men, white men. So it's the kind of thing that we're talking about, a segregated America. And I grew up under those settings. The textbooks and all that we used in elementary school and high school were the textbooks discarded by the white students. When the white students got new textbooks and all, they passed on the secondhand textbooks to the black students. But we were happy to get those books. We cleaned them up and took out all the graffiti and the misstatements and everything in the books and wrapped them in brown paper bag coverings and so forth and tried to ravage and rescue the knowledge that the books contained.
Very interesting, and it's certainly interesting to hear that perspective because things are certainly different now. Dr. Hall, you were instrumental in having Dr. Hayling visit this school and making a few other stops today to interact with students. Why was that important to you?
I think any time that we can expose our young people to our history and the contributions of many of our historical figures, but having the special opportunity to see a living legend share his experiences and to share his story is certainly monumental. And we appreciate Dr. Hayling taking the time to be here and spend time with our young people to share his story because we stand on his shoulders as we move forward in the future as well.
Now, this question's for the students. What's it like to actually meet a living legend like Dr. Hayling, who has walked side by side with Dr. Martin Luther King?
I would say that it's amazing. I'm so honored to be able to be sitting next to him right now, actually, because he has made strides and he has made huge steps in order for us to be here today and be able to do this podcast right now.
It's amazing, but it's also it's very humbling to have listened to the stories that, my grandma would tell me about racism, and my grandpa, and even my dad, and this was just a couple years ago because he's only 40, but he would tell me how, he would get, pulled over and just harassed by the cops, and different types of violence that was happening in school, and how a lot of my family members were the first to attend segregated schools. And it has me reflect on, like, what have I done, and what I have to do to live up to the bar that he set, and the bar that I have to reach with a legend like this being what came before me.
So I have to ask, from a history teacher standpoint, obviously it's one thing to read about these written in a book, somebody who wasn't from the area, and then to hear the stories from somebody who actually lived it. Explain that experience.
I think it's oftentimes history becomes events in a book, and we forget that they were real people, and these were real things that happened. And there were real emotions attached. And I think for students, and even for myself as a teacher, to be able to hear it from someone who was there, to be able to feel that emotional connection, makes history more engaging, and it really motivates you to, this person did this before me, what do I still have left to do? And I think that's what a lot of the students took away today. I think it was very valuable for them and teachers.
And we want to bring former Senator Tony Hill into the conversation as well. You've been interacting with the students and Dr. Hayling today. What are your thoughts to see, these different worlds come together at a time as this?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Westside School for giving us this opportunity to bring Dr. Hayling over here. My reflections of what I saw this morning and down through the years has been that School Board Member Hall was maybe about 10 years ago. I was speaking in Fort Pierce, and I was talking about A. Philip Randolph, and we were talking about Harry T. Moore, some of the folks who were on the front line, so I could have an opportunity to serve not only in the State House but also in the State Senate. But a young man came up to me. He said, "You need to know my brother." I said, well, who is your brother? He said, his name is Dr. Robert Hayling. And he said, next time you speak somewhere, you need to talk about Dr. Robert Hayling. And I said, well, sir, I'm going to go back and do my homework. And ma'am, and lo and behold, we have been friends and traveled down through the years. In fact, our proudest moment with Dr. Hayling was last year at the Capitol, where he was restored a prestigious honor. He's one of three to be in the third class of inductees into the Florida Civil Rights Hall of Fame. And that was a bill that we passed, and we're proud of that bill because most honors like that will go for naught. He'll be going on, and we'll be trying to find the history and stuff. But when kids now, young and old, come to the Capitol, they can look up on that wall and they can say, Dr. Robert Hayling. They can see Mary McLeod Bethune. They could see C.K. Steele. They could see A. Philip Randolph. They can see that guy who sang Stony the Road We Trot, James Weldon Johnson, up there and ask about who were those people. And so it's a humbling honor to be here with him, to just be his chauffeur, to be his armor bearer, because truly he paid a dear price. He gave it his all.
Excellent.
Commitment.
Excellent. And so with the civil rights movement, the focus tends to be on African Americans, but we know that looking at history, we saw people from other races, religions, and backgrounds working together to achieve a common goal. Dr. Hayling, is that something that you still resonate with, the different groups coming together for one common cause?
Very much so. And I would like to admonish Jacksonville that you have a jewel in your midst. I spent yesterday, which was February the 4th, with the Johnson & Johnson Corporation. And I'm telling you, to see people working together, people enjoying their jobs, people smiling and all races, all nationalities and everything else, and to be among them and not feel any friction or resentment to what was happening or discontent with their job or their position or anything. It was just an eye-opener to me. It was, I would have paid for that experience. But lo and behold, it was presented to me with the help of of Tony Hill and others and everything. And I had J.T. Johnson, one of our civil rights activists who participated on behalf of Dr. King and SCLC in St. Augustine with me yesterday. So yesterday was a crowning day, and all of my family, as soon as I get back to Fort Lauderdale or even on my way, because I will be visiting with the brother that admonished Tony Hill that he needed to meet his brother. Now, he's 18 months older than I am, and he has not enjoyed the best of health as I have, in that he has endured 5 major operations, but he is still active, and he has loving care around him and so forth. So we call ourselves survivors, and we hope someday that many of you will be thrivers. And that's the kind of thing that we want to pass the torch and also the message, because I had a good number of students, I would have said 50 to 75, just guesstimating this morning that I addressed here and what have you. And if we save one student, one person picked up the message, I will say that my job was well done. Thank you.
Dr. Hill, I just want to segue or hitchhike on that thought about the Johnson & Johnson Company. When school board member Dr. Hall was in the administration, she was able to do an MOU with that company. So now they have a partnership with one of our high schools that the kids actually go to the company. And then once they graduate, even from high school or college, they can come and work for the company. So that's a relationship that Dr. Hall was able to foster when she was downtown, a part of the administration. So I wanted to make that connection for you.
And Dr. Hall, as a member of our school board and our districts, obviously each district is separated, and there is a difference in race and background and cultures in each one of those districts a lot of times, but you represent the school board and all of Duval County Public Schools as a whole. Tell us how that's going from when you started, because you've been in Duval County Public Schools as a teacher, as a principal, and as a board member, how you've seen that change over time.
That's a loaded question, because over time I have certainly seen significant changes. As I retired from the school board for 36 years, as you mentioned, teacher, administrator, and now serving as a school board member, it was a transition for me. But what I see most is that when we have a common vision and when we have a focus on the work, which is the academic achievement and success of all students in Duval County, then the collaboration and the work together becomes easy. The challenges come about when sometimes we can get sidetracked. And I think that can happen, when groups come together anyway. But having a common vision and maintaining the laser focus of why we do the work, and we do the work for the best interest and success of students, then it tends to make the work, even though it's challenging work, it makes it easy and it makes it successful. So it's different work, it's challenging work, but working together, we can achieve the common good, and that's working in a respectful manner with each other, and also being able to hear and to listen and to accept our differences of opinion, but then come together with, again, that common goal of students first.
And so I want to pose this question to those representing Westside High School. This is your first year attending Westside High School, formerly known as Nathan B. Forrest High School. What did that experience going through a school name change teach you about yourself, race relations in the community, and what did you learn from the experience?
Well, I've been going here for 4 years now, and I've been wanting the name change for 4 years. So the fact that our community and our school board took us seriously and took the time out and actually let us get involved, that was great. I went and researched who Nathan B. Forrest was. and just moving forward. It was awesome to be a part of that.
I think as a teacher and someone involved, I was very humbled and amazed by what the kids could do, about all the inquiry that they went through, about all the great points they thought up. They became a part of history, and they did it themselves. They moved for that change. The kids picked the new name. The kids picked the mascot, and they were really advocates for themselves.
I totally agree. It does feel good to be able to actually have a voice, because as a kid, you feel like you really don't have much to say, because you're put in such a position to where sometimes you are belittled by people that are higher ranked than you. So for us to be able to make a huge change and getting the school name to be changed to Westside, it does make a difference.
And you mentioned change, and everybody has always said change is never easy. Talk a little bit, and this is from the students' point of view, talk about how you felt as a responsibility, similar to Dr. Hayling felt a responsibility to, even though it's not going to be easy, it still has to be right, and making things right. And obviously the name change here wasn't 100% popular in the community, but you guys obviously, as you mentioned, that it had to be, it was something that you wanted to make right. Talk a little bit about that.
Although it was something that a lot of people weren't really happy about, I feel like, not saying that it doesn't matter to those people because they probably went to the school, but we're in the position now to where there's something that has to be done, and we wanted to be able to take the responsibility of that, and that does show that we are growing as a community and as a school, and that we are actually able to take something that may not be as popular, but make it to where we can benefit from it in a way.
Also, like what Dr. Hayling was saying earlier about passing the torch, in that moment, that was a moment where we could take on that responsibility and do something.
You know, as a school board member, when we entered into the name change, I made the recommendation that the superintendent follow the process, which was listed in our school board policy. But before I did that, I came to Westside, I met with the Student Government Association, and I listened to what they had to say about the name change. And listening to the young people who took it upon themselves to do the research and to express how they felt about it, it was absolutely profound. And that was my driving force to move the process forward.
I respect that, because although it wasn't just the students that made the change, it was also the adults above us, because without them, this probably would have been something swept under the rug again and again after years of trying to get the name to be changed. And I really do thank you for that.
And so, Dr. Hayling, you've had quite a morning here. You've heard a lot from students and other people here who were eager to meet you. What are your reflections? What do you think about having this experience today?
Well, as I said, as a torch bearer, passing on the torch, you're always hoping to find receptive candidates. And I have to admonish each and every one, especially if you want to make substantial change. It is not going to be easy. I have a little slogan about 5 to 10% up front pulling the wagon, 80 to 85% in the body of the wagon, and maybe 5 or 10% behind, whatever, to get to 100%. But you'll find that there'll be a small percentage in front pulling the wagon and a smaller percent in the back pushing the wagon. And a whole lot of people will be in the middle taking a free ride. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying now, change does not come easy. And drastic changes and big changes are even harder. So we are hoping that the world, and I think many of us know the international situation that we're in as a world. And I won't use a word that would describe the situation we're in, because we have people now, 6,000 years later, still dying and giving their lives for religious wars. Why in the world are we still fighting that my religion is better than your religion? And that kind of thing. I used to tease my grandmother and all, say, Grandmother, if the Christians or what have you are going to heaven and they went up into the sky, and the Islamic people and others, Muhammad went into a well and went down. So maybe those paths and all will never ever meet, because one went one way and the other way. So why can't we have a truce that whatever you want to do with your life and your religion, it doesn't impede or infringe upon my rights and privileges and all? We should always be able to have consideration and respect. Young lady asked me this morning about love. I told her that word has been so misused and all. I would rather have someone tell me how they respected me. But a lot of people, after reading my story and hearing about what we've done, oh, I just love you, Dr. Hayling and all. I say, well, I certainly hope that also carries some respect, because life is not fair, and life is not going to be easy for those who want to make changes. And we get resistance from, shall we say, those that we were born into and with. Because to make a disturbance and to create some kind of energy of change, it's not easy. People are contented, and now you give them a place to sleep and some food and what have you, with Section 8 housing, gives them a roof over their heads and everything else like that. Sometimes to go out and motivate those people to give of their blood, their sweat, and their tears, get out of here and what have you. I've had people, Doctor, you've got to come to this religious revival and so forth, and Reverend so-and-so and so forth is speaking and whatever and everything. And then I'm saying, I'll come if we're going to have a follow-up. Because it's pleasurable and they enjoy all of this for camaraderie and people get together and communicate and all. But if there's not a plan of action and what we intend to do to try to make this world a better place, we're just going to languish and go without a direction or without any sacrifice or anything and what have you. And the 2% of the families of the world control 80 to 90% of the world's worth, fortune, and so forth. So we've got to do something about that change and make it so that a larger percentage of our population will have input and some direction and what have you as to what's happening with our country and our major corporations. Burger King had no qualms about saying they were moving their headquarters from Miami to Canada because of taxes. And many of us shop at Burger King and everything and spend our money. And they're telling us in our face, we're going to move over there because the tax burden is less in Canada. And your dollars you'll still be giving me and what have you, but we're going to be cutting corners and everything else. Now, I won't even approach my family's connections and everything else, but my family's intimately tied up with Apple Corporation. Apple had one of its most profitable quarters, the last quarter, that I heard a quotation that the profits and then the money that Apple and many other major corporations are sitting on could give $500 to $1,000 of every American citizen and all, and still have money left over. So those kind of statistics and those facts of life, of industry and what have you. General Motors failed, went bankrupt. The leaders declared themselves golden parachutes and all kind of bonuses and all. The government came in and bailed them out and what have you. Guess who's still running General Motors? The same people who ran General Motors into the ground. So all I'm saying, there's a slogan now in Wall Street and a lot of other places and what have you, that many of our corporations, many of our big families and what have you, are too big to fail. The establishment cannot afford for those companies and those corporations to go bankrupt or have any major disruptions and what have you. So they're going to do everything to salvage them and what have you.
No, you're fine. We got an economics lesson and a history lesson all at the same time. I'm okay with that. But we do want to thank everybody for being on the show today. But definitely, Dr. Hayling, thank you for bringing your passion and just being through that struggle. And we really do appreciate what you've done, and it's part of helping shape not just your history, and it's everybody's history here in the United States. And I mean, it means a lot. I know for me, Vicky, but. We've done a lot of these podcasts, but this is one of the few times we've actually gotten, an actual lesson involved. It's not just talking about the way things are being done. I mean, we're talking about history. This is stuff that my kids, I hope one day will be able to learn about correctly.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that, because I was kind of interpreting your gesture and your actions when I was looking over at you, and I thought you were telling me, Dr. Hayling, your time is up.
No, Vicky and I were making eye contact, and I'm like, let him go. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I hate to say it, and you mentioned this in a conversation earlier about a lot of the people down in St. Augustine who have been through the history, and they're dying off without telling their story. And a lot of people do not get that opportunity to hear what happened. They're hearing things that have been edited in a book, or they're hearing somebody tell their side of the story that they heard from another person. You don't always get a chance, and I think that's important, and it's vital for everybody to hear, from the horse's mouth, to hear what really happened. And I can't thank you enough for not just being on our show, but also coming here to Westside High School. I think it's important for the students to hear this, because obviously you guys are going through the struggle with the name change and everything, to be part of that. And, to move on with your life and then have families and everything that you can carry on that story, I think is huge. You can chime in.
I'm enjoying you.
Oh, sorry. Anybody who's listened to these podcasts know towards the end I get on these, I get excited about things.
You have your soapbox.
I do, but I'm going to jump down off it. But once again, guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Real Talk podcast. You can always go to our website at www.duvalschools.org. Bottom of the screen, you'll see our latest episode, or you can also go down into our department side at the DCPS Productions and find all of our podcasts. We're also on YouTube under DCPS Productions with Real School and other TV shows we do. So I think that's going to wrap it up, Vicky. I think I said enough. So on behalf of Duval County Public Schools, my name is Matt.
And I'm Vicky.
And guys, thanks so much for listening.